foundation as we are starting a new lesson on today. Amen. So I really want to take my time to lay some foundation because of the kind of subject matter we're about to get into. I really need to take my time and get into this. I said it in the first service that I wasn't really going to preach, but I kind of lied, so I did. But I'm gonna try it again and say that's not my intention. I really just want to lay this out so we can see this clear. Does that make sense? All right. So let's take a look at Mark chapter 8, verses 11 down to verse 21. Come on and let us read this together. Ready? Read. The Pharisees came out and began to dispute with him, seeking from him a sign from heaven, testing him. Verse 12. But he sighed deeply in his spirit. Why does this generation seek a sign? Or surely I say to you, no sign shall be given to this generation. Verse 13. And he left them, and getting into the boat, departed to them. Verse 14 says what? Now the disciples, and one of those with them. All right, underline that. It sounds strange, but underline it or mark it if you can, because that's going to be important to us later, right? All right, verse 15 says what? Then he charged them, saying, take heed, beware of the leaven of the Pharisees and the leaven of Herod. And they reason among themselves, saying, it is because, tell your neighbor, they didn't get it, they didn't get it, they didn't get it. Keep reading, verse 17 says what? But Jesus, being aware of it, said to them, what did he say? Do you not yet perceive nor understand? Having eyes, having ears, Stop right there. Because what he's saying is, I ain't talking about bread, y'all. That's what he said. He said, hey, listen, beware of the leaven of the Pharisees and the leaven of Herod. And then they start wandering around going, well, we ain't got but one loaf of bread. Maybe that's the issue. Maybe we need some light bread. Maybe they wanted some Wonder Bread instead. I'm not sure. And so what he's saying is basically, y'all are not getting it. Y'all are not getting it. So here's what he's about to explain. He's about to explain a little bit concerning this. All right? Keep reading. Ready? Verse 19. Read. When I... Also, when I broke for 4,000, So he said to them, so here's what he said. We can't be talking about bread, people. He said, you remember the miracle I did with the bread? We can't be talking about bread because I can make bread anytime I want to. So now I want to use this as an example because I want to use this as a backdrop. I want to deal with some things. And I really believe it's going to bless your life on today. Now, here's what I'm out to do. One of the things I shared in the first service, I'm going to use this again. How many of you understand that sometimes, or anybody ever had your kid bring you, your child, or maybe create yourself a knot in your shoe? Knot in your shoe, like a bad one, okay? How many of you understand that a bad knot, it's going to take a minute to untie, right? I shared this and I'll use it again because I've done this and I did this. Actually, this was pretty recent. I happened to be in the gym and I was doing something. I was working out and I was about to do some pull-ups. So my shorts it's a string, one string inside the shorts. So I called myself, tying up my shorts because I didn't want my shorts to come down while I was going to do these pull-ups. So I tied my shorts in a knot. And so I did, and I left them there. So I must have left them there for an extended period of time. And so how many of you understand that, not cool to keep your shorts up until you have to go to the bathroom? How many of you understand me and that knot was battling a little while later? Does that make sense? And I know I can't be the only one that's ever done that because I thought I was just going to pull a string and it was going to pop out. I was like, oh, wait a minute, hold up. I was like, if I had to, I was about to go downstairs and say, listen, somebody give me some scissors because we gonna have a problem in a minute if I can't get this knot untied. But I'm gonna understand that when you have a serious knot, you have to take time and untie it. Well, one of the things I found out is that we can have possibly tied up some things in a knot that maybe or possibly should not have been tied that way. And so what I need to do, because of the assignment of our ministry, is I'm going to need to untie some things, but it is going to take me a little time in order to do it. See, I really believe if you are paying any kind of attention, that I really believe we have a call and a grace to win the lost. And I'm not just saying win the lost, I'm talking about winning unchurched people who really don't know Jesus. Does that make sense? Being able to create an environment in which they are not intimidated, not afraid. They can get trained, get the word, grow, and then go back out and replicate themselves again. Does that make sense? Which means win somebody else. Now, in order to do that, though, if there are some things that maybe we have heard, maybe we have assumed that if we don't untie them, we can say things or do things that possibly could be keeping people out instead of bringing them in. Ooh, okay. All right. Now, so before I just jump right into this particular text and this subject matter, let's just look at the text because I believe it's going to set us up this morning. Amen? All right. Now, let's look at this. So let's answer a few questions so we can clearly see what we're about to get into. Number one, let's deal with who Jesus is talking to and who he is talking about. Number one, Jesus in this conversation is talking to his disciples. Say disciples. And he is talking about the Pharisees in particular. And he made some statements at that time that were very interesting. Now, here's what he said. He told them to be mindful or be careful of the leaven of the Pharisees. So if we don't really understand what leaven is, then we may miss some of the meaning inside of this particular text. So when we take a look at some things, we found out leaven is very similar, if not just like yeast. And leaven was used at this time to put into dough to cause the dough to rise, because without the leaven, the bread would be flat. Does that make sense? So now, what I found out is that in order or to get the effect of leaven, when you're making bread, you don't have to put a lot of leaven into the bread. You just need to put a little bit in there, and because of the strength of the leaven, it gets into everything. Does that make sense? So now, keep that in mind. Now, number two, Jesus is dealing with the Pharisees. The Pharisees at this time were the religious teachers of the day. They were deemed to be scholars, the scholarly ones, and they were they were trained in the administration of the law. Now, the problem with the Pharisees, though, at this time was they not only were they trained in the administration of the law, but they were adding things to the law that were not in the law, and they were not doing the things that they were adding to the law, yet requiring other people to do them. Tell your neighbor, say, pay attention, pay attention. You gotta see this. So now, Jesus makes this statement to them. Matter of fact, I want to back this up for a second. Just put on the screen Matthew chapter 23 and verse 1. You don't have to turn there. I want you to see this so you can understand what I'm saying, because this becomes very important to how we're going to build from this point on. Here's what Jesus said concerning the Pharisees. Then Jesus spoke to the multitude and to his disciples. Next verse says what? Saying, the scribes and the Pharisees sit in Moses' seat. Next verse. Therefore, whatever they tell you to observe, that observe and do. But do not do according to their works, for they say and they do not do. Boy, y'all, I don't have to go back and read all that, but here's what you're saying. Okay, they sit in the Moses seat. They are administrating the law. But what they're doing is they're coming up with extra stuff to do to make you right with God, yet behind the scenes, they are not doing the extra stuff themselves. Yet they are requiring people to do that. Now, in this text, in context, the Pharisees represent the religious mindset of the day. Ooh, okay? And they are very much contrary to Jesus, because Jesus does not minister according to their rules, meaning that Jesus is giving people a pass that in their mind should not get a pass. Oh, preaching better than y'all saying amen. He's giving people passes that should not get a pass. So now they got problems because you're not requiring them to do this, that, and the third. You mean to tell me you'll show up to somebody's bedside and tell them get up and walk and that's going to be it? They don't have to do this, they ain't got to do that. You mean to tell me we're going to bring you a lady caught in adultery and all you're going to say is I don't condemn you, then let them go? You can't do that. Ooh. See, here's what I need you to see, that if we're not careful, even in 2015, we still have people with Pharisaical learning the things of God, and if we're not careful, we can allow that kind of mindset to infiltrate how we think, and it affects how we minister to others, and it can affect how we hear the word ourselves. Because a lot of us came in a time where we may have ascribed to things that were not really biblical in nature. We just said yes and amen because it sounded good at the time. And the proof of the pudding was some of the stuff I said last week, the looks on people's faces when I said that made me think that, you know what, we need to go back and deal with some things. Because I said this, I said drinking and smoking is not going to get you to hell. Oh, and it's not going to undo your salvation. It may get you to heaven a lot faster than you want to. It may cause some problems down here on this earth, but it's not going to, look at, I got to look again. It's not going to undo your salvation. Your salvation is not predicated on what you do. It is predicated on what you believe. And see, if we don't get this right, we'll start requiring people to fix their life up and get things right so God can bless them, not understanding that we're operating under a different covenant, under different rules, and Jesus is functioning differently. And if we're not careful, we will ascribe all these rules to other folk that we ourselves really never walked in our own self. And now we're judging people, and we're saying, you got to get that together. We didn't even have it together. What are you talking about? Nobody in here had it together. They just didn't see your struggle because your struggle was behind the scene. They ain't see you up and down. They ain't seeing you say, I never did it again, and then you went out and did it again. They ain't never see all that. So now how can you get here and be in the seat you're in now and look down your nose on somebody who came into the kingdom of God and is working on getting their stuff together? And if we're not careful, we'll turn people off to Jesus and have them quit on Jesus and the kingdom of God because we have misinterpreted what we have heard. And I said I wasn't going to preach. And so we got some things. If y'all got that picture, give me the picture of the apple seed, the apples and the tree and the seed. Yeah, good. Listen to this. Now I want to show you something. You got all of those are apple trees. The sapling, the little starter tree, sapling, mid-size, big tree, all of them. Now the difference is that the last tree has apples on it. But the first one, still apple tree. I'm making a point. And what happens is, we'll throw stones at people at stage 1 because they're not in stage 5. And the deal is, it takes time to produce fruit. So instead of me judging them while they're there, maybe they need some water, maybe they need some fertilizer, maybe they need some prayer, and the last thing they need me to do is start telling them, you ain't an apple tree. No, you just haven't produced any fruit. But if you got Jesus on the inside of you, Lord, and listen, if you got him on the inside of you, eventually you're going to produce some stuff that looks just like him. Does that make sense? But you need somebody to help you with the process. But don't condemn me while I'm in the process. Help me through the process. Oh, I'm not getting no help. So I'm having to kind of go back and maybe untie and even attack some of the ways that we think about things and some of the ways we have ascribed to certain things so that we can see the word in this proper light. Now, what I just described, and I'll go back to it again, affects non-believers. But if you're not careful, it can affect people who are currently believers. You don't know how many people have come to me and said that they don't know if they could work in ministry because they got divorced 4 or 5 years ago, and they were taught that if you ever got divorced, then, you could never be used. And my question to them was, where is that in the Bible? Okay, I'm coming over here. I ain't getting no help. I can tell by the response I get when I say certain things that some of you are not saying amen because you're not sure yourself. Oh, I'm gonna start start a fire. I feel like starting a fire. I feel like it too. I just feel like it. Oh yeah. They come up all kinds of stuff. And I'm gonna hit you with this one. And we'll say things like, well, and I've done it. If you don't forgive others, God won't forgive you. Uh-oh. Okay. Let me just help you. I'm gonna help you. If that was the case, then the thief on the cross, on the other side of Jesus, he asked if he could be there with Jesus, and Jesus told him yes. He didn't say, you gotta forgive everybody who did you wrong. See, I'm telling you, if you don't realize what light you're reading that stuff in, I didn't say you shouldn't forgive, because forgiveness is going to benefit you. Forgiveness is going to help you, but you forgiving somebody else is not required for God to forgive you. Oh, boy, I'm not getting no help. Because we're looking at stuff in light of Old Testament. All right, here we go. All right. See, here's what you got to realize. Just because you're looking at Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, and it says New Testament before it starts, doesn't really mean it's the New Testament. Now, Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John is in the New Testament canon, but it is talking about Jesus' ministry before he died. Therefore, it is really under the Old Covenant. The New Testament can't start until Jesus actually dies on the cross and is raised from the dead. Listen, a testament does not go into force until the person who wrote it actually died. So a lot of that stuff that we're reading, even if it is in the New Testament, according to the delineation in our Bible, it is still making reference to Old Testament policy and procedure. That's why when Jesus was talking to them, he told them the things that the Pharisees are telling you to do, you need to observe. Why? They can't operate in this covenant yet because it hasn't started. Look down your row and tell you he is preaching better than you are saying amen right now. The problem starts is when we start pulling old covenant stuff and requiring it for new covenant believers. My Bible says we have a better covenant built on better promises. Y'all ain't hearing me? So if we don't change how we see things, and we don't change how we're interpreting stuff, then what happens is we could cause us to miss some things that God has for us, and possibly throw some other people askew because we're not really sure, or we think we're sure about what we're hearing, but it may be misinformation. Does that make sense? And not on purpose, it just could happen that way. All right, let me see if we can work a little bit. Let me share this with you. You could have something, car, shucks, wife, anything, and somebody tell you, let's use a car. Man, that's bad. Now, period, that's bad. Now, you and I know that there are several different definitions for what that could mean. And if you misinterpret what has been said, it's going to affect how you respond. See, because you could mean it's bad, meaning it's not good. You could mean it's bad, meaning the behavior of it is bad. You could mean it's bad, meaning it's extremely good. You're going to need to know what I meant when I said it, because if you don't understand what I said, it could affect how you respond to what I said. Because see, you've got a multitude of responses. Your response, if it's taken wrong, could be, I'm offended. Your response could be, I'm confused. I don't understand what you're talking about. Or your response could be, thank you. All of it is contingent on how you interpreted what was said, yo. And see, this is what's going on with the Pharisees and with the disciples and Jesus, because Jesus is talking to his disciples and he says, listen, be careful of the leaven of the Pharisees and Herod. Why? Because a little bit of that kind of teaching, if you allow it in your heart and in your mind, it can affect everything that's going on in your life. So you got to be able to, or be willing to judge what you hear against what is actually written, and not assume just because I heard it, it actually means that. I might need to do some research. I might need to check some things out, and I might need to ask, is that what it really meant, or did we just assume that's what it meant? And so what I'm about to do is, with this lesson is, again, untie a few knots that have been created possibly by how we have interpreted what we heard or assumed what we heard. Does that make sense? Tell your neighbor, work, Pastor. Just work. Just go ahead and work. All right. Now let's take a look at a couple of things. Why don't you go with me now to Ephesians chapter 2 and verse 8. I want to make a few statements before we really get into this. Now here's what I want to share. The reason I need to deal with all this because if we don't interpret things properly, or in the light of the new covenant, then what happens is we can throw ourselves askew, or we can really, impose things on others on non-believers that really they're not really required to do. One of the things I want to share was how this affects a new believer is, and I see it all the time. Things you can hear us say things like, you know what? I'm waiting on my blessing. How many times have you heard that? And see, and this is a believer, but that's because they don't believe that they're blessed. Oh boy, okay. But my Bible says when you got born again, you got blessed. Just like you got healed, just like you got delivered. God does not partially do work when you come to the kingdom. Oh boy. So we got saints that think God saved me, but then he didn't deliver me. One of my best examples of Jesus making sure he does a complete work is when he dealt with that man that could not see. This man had been blind from birth. Jesus laid hands on one man in the Gospels he couldn't see, and he said, I see men walking around like trees. Now, if you've never seen before, seeing men walking around like trees is pretty good. Jesus didn't leave him like that. He laid hands on him again and said, now what you see? He said, I see everything clear. Why? You don't find God halfway doing anything. So he wouldn't halfway save you. He wouldn't save you and not deal with your sin. He wouldn't save you and not deal with your deliverance. He wouldn't save you and not deal with your blessing. He wouldn't save you and not deal with your health and your healing. When he saved you, he took care of everything at the cross. When you got born again, you got blessed, you got healed, you got delivered, you got sanctified, you got made holy, you got set free. Oh boy, help. But the reason that a lot of people are not excited about that is because we still don't believe that I have that stuff. Oh, and I said this earlier. Wrong believing creates wrong thinking. Wrong thinking creates wrong actions. Right believing creates right thinking. Right thinking creates right actions. So if you want to fix somebody's actions, you got to go back to the root and find out what they believe. Oh boy, I'm not getting on. See, because if I believed I was blessed, then I would think differently about being blessed. If I thought differently about being blessed, I would act like a blessed person acts. But because I don't believe I'm blessed, I don't think I'm blessed, and since I don't think I'm blessed, I don't act like a blessed person. Woo. Wrong believing creates wrong thinking creates wrong actions. And what I found out is we're trying to fix symptoms of what somebody believes. Fix the root and the fruit comes out right every time. People struggle with the idea about being holy. Oh yeah, here we go. Got quiet when I said that. The length of your skirt doesn't make you holy. Whether you have makeup on or not doesn't make you holy. Now, I do believe when you get a hold of holiness, it might affect how you dress. It affects how you carry yourself. I'm not getting no help with that one. But that in and of itself does not make you holy. Ooh. See, we've substituted things for holiness that doesn't make your only thing that can make you holy is Jesus. He gives you holiness when you come to him. He imputes, he gives to you, he credits to your account holy. He makes you right. But see, if I don't believe I'm holy. Then I don't think I'm holy. Then I won't act like I'm holy. Another example I had down in my notes, I use this, because you can get a guy who believes he's a car, puts his bed in the garage, and makes car sounds when he walks around. Just give me, is he a car? He's not a car. What is he? Well, what does he believe? Wrong thinking, wrong believing, wrong thinking, wrong actions. Hey, check this out. No matter what his true state is a human being. He has altered what he has been given because his believing hasn't lined up with what he has. Because when he believes what he has, he will think different. When he thinks different, he's going to do different. He's going to move his bed out of the garage and he's going to put it in the bedroom. He's going to stop making them noises because he realized the noise does not make you a car. So, again, I'm after something as we deal with this and kind of peel back this onion, that I want to look at some things in light of what the scriptures say to make sure what we're looking at is accurate, and I believe it's going to help the believer, and I believe it's going to help us minister to others who don't know Jesus better. And we'll stop saying things like, when you clean up your sin, God gonna bless you. Oh boy, okay, all right, here we go. And we'll stop saying things like that because it's not true. Because God does not require, Jesus doesn't require you to fix it all up before he deals with you. He deals with you right. He said, come to me just as you are. Okay, let's keep going. Y'all all right? Ephesians chapter 2. Ephesians chapter 2, verse 6. So here's the things I want to cover. Here's the thing.